Some 1,500 Boy Scouts and Girl Guides hit the road today on a campaign to fight hunger. As videographer Alan Cohen reports, it was a chance for the young trekkers to help the community.
A little rain wasn't enough to stop these Boy Scouts and Girl Guides from setting out on this year's Hike for Hunger. The 1,500 participants from across the Lower Mainland gathered at Swangard Stadium before setting out on their trek.
We have our young people collecting food over the week and then hiking around a set route, which is around Central Park today, and bringing awareness that this is a difficult time for food banks.
And that's a message that's not lost on these hardy hikers. Why is it really important to be here today?
Because of the people that don't have food, and so then they can have some food for after Christmas.
I feel helping the poor is very, very important in our world.
When people are hungry through unfortunate circumstances, children can understand that. And it's a wonderful way for them to really try to put their principles into practice by doing something to help other people.
After all the donations were dropped off, the final count was just over 6,000 pounds of food. Not bad for a rainy Saturday morning. In Burnaby, Alan Cohen, Vancouver Television.
The United States has the right to bear arms entrenched in their Constitution, while in Canada we are just as passionate about the right to carry a hockey stick. As Alan Cohen reports, kids in one Surrey neighborhood take that passion to the streets every weekend.
As Randy Luntz straps up his goalie pads and dons his goalie mask, he prepares to take part in one of Canada's strongest traditions,
Game on.
Road hockey. Recently, a controversy arose when residents of one nearby Surrey neighborhood complained about the games. The result was police ordering the kids off the street. For the weekend warriors of 99th Avenue, police involvement does not sit well.
I think it's pretty much bull. I think that kids should be able to play hockey as much as they want because people, they move the net when the cars come. And
oh, here comes a car. Trouble is, there's a bylaw that says don't play in traffic.
Where else are they going to go to play? The park's a long ways away. I don't like the kids walking by themselves, so, you know, this is great.
It's good exercise for them. They get a lot of activity and sportsmanship out of it, and they do move the nets when the cars come down the streets. And it's not like they're on King George Highway.
Nice car.
Surrey's mayor sees the ability for some kind of compromise on the touchy issue.
I think that we can all get along if we just, all of us, be reasonable about it and be sure that we all recognize the first priority is the safety of our kids.
This is what they do for recreation. All the parents watch out for the kids, and we can't watch them if they're at the park.
So as far as the kids on 99th Avenue are concerned, at least for the time being, it's game on. In Surrey, Alan Cohen, Vancouver Television. Here we go. Whoa. Deked myself out.
For years, dog owners have lobbied for the chance to let their animals run free in Vancouver parks. Now the Vancouver Parks Board is experimenting with an off-leash program in 4 parks. Videographer Alan Cohen dropped by some of them to find out whether it is working.
On a sunny day, when you're a dog, life off the leash is where it's at. You have the freedom to roam, hang with your buddies, search for cats, or just jog with their owners. Not all dogs like jogging. But it doesn't matter if they swim, look at funny camera operators, or dig in a children's playground. All dogs in Vancouver must be on a leash at all times. So the Vancouver Board of Parks and Recreation has decided to give the idea of off-leash times for dogs a chance. And one of those places is here at Balaclava Park.
We're only doing this for 6 weeks to see if it goes well, we'll extend it to, you know, perhaps every park where we can.
So Balaclava, along with Hillcrest, Nelson, and Killarney parks, will allow special off-leash times for dogs in the early morning and evening hours.
If it works, we'll be bringing it to a park near you very, very soon.
But other park users are skeptical.
I have never run here without being interfered with by dogs running around. If they enforce it, I'm supportive of it.
You know, I think dog owners are responsible when it's crowded. The dogs are on leash. But they need to have fun too.
I think that's a great idea. You know, it gives a chance for the dogs to go out and do their own little thing.
But don't pack Rover into the front seat of the car just yet and head off to one of these pilot parks. For the experiment to work, only people living near the test parks are asked to participate. At Balaclava Park, Alan Cohen, Vancouver Television.
This week, more than 200 high school students are spending an environmentally friendly spring break on board 17 small ships. They're dropping anchor in ports of call along the coast, learning skills from boat building to marine biology. Videographer Alan Cohen caught up with them off the coast of Nanaimo.
Spring break on a boat. Sounds great, but there are a few drawbacks. Unusual toilets.
I think you pull this down, so it's pump handle, then pull this rope to flush it.
Finding the right bunk.
Actually, I'll take this one.
And early morning wake-up calls. But once on land, the chance to connect with two superstars of the environmental community makes it all worthwhile. Dr. Jane Goodall, famous for her work with the apes of the Gombe jungle.
It's nice to meet you.
Great, nice to meet you too.
And Robert Bateman, renowned wildlife artist.
There we go.
And after all the souvenir photos are taken, the next generation of environmental leaders are given some important advice.
Sometimes I have a message to share with them which can solidify their commitment and perhaps can give them answers to some of the people they may have to confront who are of a different opinion, who don't feel that it matters to take care of this beautiful planet.
It's really important that the generation that's coming along, the kids that are this age, are going to be, I guess, right in their hearts about the way the world should be handled philosophically for future generations.
It's a challenge these teens are more than willing to meet.
I have a great faith in my generation just because I think it's not only that we're going to want to, it's kind of like we have to, and I think we're starting to realize that now.
I want to have a positive influence on my peers, like maybe in this role as a youth mentor, and spread the word to my friends.
As the sun sets on the first leg of the voyage and the hot chocolate's poured, plans are already underway for what they can do to make a difference.
Part was the most inspiring.
And then giving all the reasons for it.
From Newcastle Island, Alan Cohen, Vancouver Television.
The face of our military is changing. The soldiers are still strong and disciplined, but increasingly they are also women. Videographer Alan Cohen catches up with some of Canada's top female members of the military.
For years, military service in Canada's regular forces and reserves was considered by some to be an old boys club. But that's changed. Since 1990, women have been allowed to serve in the combat arms side by side in the trenches with men.
It's a lot of hard work, but on the flip side, it's also a lot of fun.
Bombardier Lisa Abbott is spending her vacation from her job as a lab technician plotting artillery strikes.
When I joined, I basically joined with the understanding that I was joining the boys' club.
Women now make up 19% of a 30,000-member reserve force, and many of them have seen attitudes towards women in combat roles change.
Probably the people who were in before women were allowed to join had a harder time accepting it, but I think they adjusted really well, and I've never had any problems.
I think it's been very tough on them. It's never easy for a female to move into a male-oriented career, but I think slowly that's going to be the way it's going to have to be.
And men who serve side by side with women have changed their attitudes as well.
I think a lot of us who had been around for a while were a little concerned when the thing happened, but 10 years later, they're more than carrying their own weight, and I don't think anyone has any concerns anymore. They've proven themselves, they're good soldiers, and we just carry on.
In the regular forces, women make up 11%. Many in the reserves believe that in time, that number will change. Would you recommend this to other women?
Certainly, but any woman that's a tomboy anyway.
At Fort Lewis, Washington, Alan Cohen, Vancouver Television.
The battle between cyclists and hikers on the North Shore Mountains stepped up today. Police are now handing out tickets to bikers found on footpaths. Videographer Alan Cohen has the story from our North Shore newsroom.
For Ken Maud and Mitch Deem, a ride through the woods of Mount Seymour is the best way to spend a sunny afternoon. They stick to the legal biking trails. Others, however, prefer the thrill of a steeper trail like this one. Problem is that due to heavy erosion, it's out of bounds for bikers.
What happens is that when you get this rut like this, when it rains, the water comes flowing down here just like a river, creates a channel and pulls all this loose debris down and causes quite a bit of an erosion.
Recently, BC Parks began taking action. Officers now issue fines up to $86 for anyone caught on an illegal trail.
Whether you're disobeying a sign or in this particular case, illegal use of cycle. I mean, you have to, the only thing you can do is ride a bike where you're supposed to be, where you're able to ride, where we have identified that you can. Every other part of the park is closed.
Both Mitch and Ken, members of the North Shore Mountain Bike Association, can see the need for some kind of enforcement.
There's no doubt that the tactics that Seymour has used are successful. Everybody in the mountain bike community knows of the fine situation, and people are staying away from the illegal trails.
Short term, yeah, I mean, it's got some of the best mountain biking around to utilize, but long term is it's going to all disappear. So people now that are enjoying it will be able to do it, but in the future, like their kids, they won't have that opportunity. There'll be a lot of scarring on the mountain.
On Mount Seymour, Alan Cohen, Vancouver Television.
Thank you very much, David. Well, as if we needed it, there is now one more reason to spend time in the jewel of Vancouver's parks. A new free shuttle bus service is now underway in Stanley Park, but as strange as it may sound, not everyone is happy about the cost. Videographer Al Cohen sorts it all out.
2, 3. Excellent.
With the traditional breaking of the champagne bottles, the new Stanley Park shuttle bus was officially launched. The free service begins this Saturday, but today was a chance for local dignitaries to have a test ride.
The goal of the exercise was to see, well, hey, how can we find a way of getting people to move around the park more efficiently in an enjoyable fashion while reducing the dependency on the automobile.
But it's the free aspect of the ride that doesn't sit well with competing services.
I am a firm believer that it should be a user pay and not funded by any other revenues.
Jerry O'Neill operates AAA Horse and Carriage Limited, and he doesn't like the fact that parking revenues will subsidize the $170,000 service.
If they see a freebie here, they'll definitely would experience the freebie before they spend $12 for an adult for an hour tour.
O'Neill says his business stands to lose up to 25% in revenue, but the Board of Parks and Recreation doesn't see their service as unfair competition.
As a matter of fact, it'll be good for business in the park. It'll mean that there'll be more people coming to the park by other ways, by other means of transportation. So we're trying to make Stanley Park more accessible, but at the same time, we're also recognizing that we don't want to compete with tour companies. We don't want to provide a guided tour. That's not the intention. We're a people mover.
So for the rest of the summer, the two services will have to live together, sharing the tourist trade. In Stanley Park, Alan Cohen, Vancouver Television.